All right, so you know how sometimes you read a story and it just like stays with you. It makes you think about like the big questions.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing today.
Yeah, I get that.
Today's deep dive is one of those stories. We're going back to the Cold War, 1983. Think, like peak Cold War paranoia. And we're going to look at this event that could have literally ended the world as we know it.
Yeah, I mean, it's the stuff of movies, right?
Totally. But it was real. It's the story of Stanislav Petrov and the Soviet nuclear false alarm. And get this, it's not just some historical footnote. It's like this super relevant cautionary tale for the age of AI and all that. Okay.
So first, just to set the scene, we're talking about a time when the U.S. and the Soviet Union had enough nukes to wipe out like all of humanity multiple times over.
Right. It may be.
Yeah, exactly. Mutually assured destruction. That was the doctrine. The idea was nobody's going to launch a first strike because, they know they're going to get obliterated right back.
Scary stuff. But
Yeah.
it kind of worked, right? I mean, we're still here.
For now. But the thing is, it only takes one mistake, one miscalculation, one little glitch, and that's where Petrov comes in. He was this lieutenant colonel in the Soviet Air Defense Forces, stationed at this top-secret early warning center. His job basically was to watch for signs of an American nuclear attack. Can you imagine that? Going to work every day knowing that you could be the first to see the end of the world coming.
Yeah. No thanks. I think I'll stick to my day job.
So picture this. It's September 26, 1983, middle of the night. Petrov's at his station, and suddenly the alarm system goes off. Sirens blaring, lights flashing, the whole works, and on the computer screen, it flashes. Nuclear launch detected.
Oh, wow.
5 American Minuteman ICBMs headed straight for Soviet territory, and he has like minutes to decide what to do. If he reports this up the chain of command, it could trigger a full-blown retaliatory strike.
So what does he do?
Well, here's the thing. Petrov had been trained to trust the system. But he also knew that technology can be flawed. And he had this gut feeling, this intuition that something wasn't right. Why only 5 missiles? If the Americans were really launching a first strike, wouldn't they launch like everything they had? Hundreds of missiles.
He's like, this doesn't feel right.
Exactly. He thinks it through. He weighs the evidence. He considers the potential consequences. And he makes a decision that basically goes against everything he's been taught. He decides not to report the alert. He tells his superiors it's a false alarm.
Wow. What a gamble.
It was a huge gamble. He was risking his career, his reputation, maybe even his life. But he was right. It turned out that the satellite system had misinterpreted sunlight reflecting off high-altitude clouds as missile plumes.
Oh, wow. So a glitch in the system almost caused, like, World War III.
Yeah.
That's insane.
And the craziest part is, Petrov got reprimanded for not following protocol.
Seriously. Talk about adding insult to injury. He saved the world, and they give him a hard time for it.
It's kind of messed up, right? But it just goes to show you how much we rely on technology, even when it's not perfect. And it makes you wonder, what if Petrov hadn't trusted his gut? What if he hadn't been willing to question the system?
That's a scary thought. It's like we're putting so much faith in these machines, these algorithms,
Yeah.
and we're doing it more and more every day, right?
Yeah.
I mean, think about self-driving cars, AI, and healthcare, all that stuff.
Right. And the thing is, these systems are only getting more complex, more sophisticated, which is great in a lot of ways. But it also means the stakes are getting higher. And it makes Petrov's story even more relevant, even more urgent.
So what's the takeaway here? I mean, what can we learn from Petrov's experience?
Well, I think it's a couple of things. First, it's a reminder that technology, even the most advanced technology, can be flawed. And second, it's a reminder that human judgment, that gut feeling, that intuition is still incredibly important, especially when the stakes are high.
So we can't just blindly trust the machines, right? We have to be willing to question them, to use our own judgment, even if it means going against the grain.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point. We need to find the right balance between trusting the technology and trusting our own instincts. And that's not always easy, especially when you're dealing with something as complex and potentially dangerous as, nuclear weapons or artificial intelligence.
It's like, on the one hand, we want to harness the power of these technologies to make our lives better, safer, more efficient. But on the other hand, we have to be aware of the risks. And we have to be willing to step in to use our own judgment when things start to go wrong.
Absolutely. And it's not just about individual judgment either. It's about having the right safeguards in place, the right checks and balances to make sure that these systems are being used responsibly and ethically.
Okay, so big picture time. How do we do that? How do we ensure that we're using these powerful technologies for good without letting them get out of control?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? I think it's a question we need to be asking ourselves constantly as we move further into this age of AI and automation. It's a question that scientists, policymakers, ethicists, all of us need to be grappling with because the stakes are just too high to ignore it.
And it's not just some abstract, futuristic problem either. It's something we're dealing with right now, today.
Exactly. I mean, think about all the ways AI is already being used in our lives, in healthcare, in finance, in law enforcement, even in the military. And those are just a few examples. As AI becomes more powerful, more ubiquitous, the potential for both good and harm is only going to increase.
So it sounds like we all need to be a little bit more like Petrov, right? Willing to question the system, to trust our gut, to stand up for what we believe in, even when it's hard.
Yeah, I think there's a lot we can learn from Petrov's story, and I think it's a story that's worth remembering, especially as we navigate this increasingly complex and uncertain world.
Okay, well, on that note, I think we're going to wrap things up for today, but I got to say, this has been a pretty intense deep dive. It's really got me thinking about all the ways technology is shaping our world and the choices we all have to make as we move forward.
Yeah, same here. It's definitely a lot to process.
And to our listeners out there, we want to hear from you. What are your thoughts on this? How do you think we should balance the power of technology with the importance of human judgment? Head over to our website or social media and let us know. Until next time, stay curious.